Hi, I'm Elisabeth Hendrickson, and today I'm here with my good friend Tobey Aumann and Tobey Aumann's cat. Toby, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Toby. I use they and the pronouns. I've been working in tech since 2004, and I've been in the Agile community since 2006.
And you know a lot of stuff about how to build software and flow and the intersection of humans and software. But there's one thing that I wanted to talk to you about today, and that is the other day we were talking and you were telling me about design sprints, which
Yes.
if somebody just used that phrase with me, design sprint, I kind of wince because it starts to feel like a waterfally thing. And you explain, no, it's
Oh,
not what you think it is. So I want to
yeah.
hear more. Tell me more. What is a design sprint? How is it not the start of Scrum or Fall?
I mean, it could be, but it's not supposed to be. What it is, it's taking a week, 5 days, and going through a structured set of activities to explore the problem that you're trying to solve, some potential solutions for it, and then by the end of it, actually test it. So you could use that as like, all right, here's all of our big design up front. We're doing in 5 days. Now we're going to build this forever. But I think that it would be hard to do that because it's only 5 days. And so design sprints TM, I'll call it that, um, were published in a book by Jake Knapp and somebody else from Google Ventures, but they made it available completely on, like they made everything available online as a toolkit in order to share this practice. And you go through these steps with everybody who needs to be there. An example, so a client I worked with in the DevOps space was trying to solve a kind of fundamental problem that their platform had. So we took a week with the product manager of that team, their staff engineers, some junior engineers, the UX design lead, um, and brought and set up, because we were a fully remote team. We set up a big mural or Miro, one of those two, to understand why it was a problem, but then also kind of what are the different options that we could have explored.
So you mentioned that with design sprints, there's a set of structured activities. Can you give me some examples of what those activities are?
Sure. Okay, so given that you're using a design sprint to understand a problem, you've probably done some research beforehand, you've talked to some people, but everybody in that room hasn't heard the problem together. So that first day, let's call it Monday, you have to start at that end and make sure that everybody is on the same page and agree together on what that long-term goal is. One of the activities that you can use to do that is have one person kind of read out, like usually the product manager read out like what they hope to accomplish, and then have each person on camera write down what it is they thought the product manager said, and then paste it as a sticky note onto the board, and then write it together to make sure that they've really understood it. They're allowed to ask questions at that point to make sure um, that they've covered the whole thing. Like the next part of it will be inviting in the various experts that you have at the company, your UI person, your staff engineer, because the problem to be solved was around logins and security, that having somebody from security like to ask questions about would be good. Having one of the other staff engineers who's been working on like incident response process would be a good person to have in. And we would do it as kind of fishbowl interview. One person would ask the expert the question, and then they would talk, and then then everybody else in the room would either be taking notes or preparing their own questions.
So what I think I'm hearing you say is that in the design sprint, there's the core team that are going to be there for all 5 days.
Yeah.
But then part of the process involves inviting in different stakeholders or experts, people who that core team need to consult during the week as they're moving through this entire process. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so day one, you just gave 2 activities to kick off the entire week, to define the problem and to get input from other relevant stakeholders or experts. What does the rest of the week look like?
It's like the first day, you've set the goal. Second day, you want to diverge. You want to come up with as many different options and possibilities for solving the problem as you can. And you're going to converge. You're going to remix the ideas that people had. You're going to figure out what might work. And by Wednesday, by the middle of the week, you're like, okay, now that we're converging, you can only test so many on Friday. So you have to kind of stack rank what you think is going to happen. So Wednesday, like, you'll have different activities for how to critique the solutions, how to choose which ones will have the best chance of solving the long-term goal, and then being able to start putting them into like a storyboard for what you want the prototype to actually achieve. And that's your Thursday and your Friday too, right? It's like Thursday, all right, we're building it out. We're going to fake it. We're going to do anything that we can so that a customer could actually potentially click on it or try to do the thing. How do we do all those pieces so that on Friday there's somebody who can actually touch things?
On Friday, we're going to do customer testing. And of course, the product of testing is information, and it's going to be guided by questions. So what are some of the kinds of questions that a team might want to answer with the tests on Friday?
Your customer is going to go to the page that you created for them. Maybe it's in Figma, maybe it's actually like an HTML mockup, and they're going to go to that page and try to figure out what they're supposed to do, and just walk through and you'll ask them to narrate what their experience is, what they're expecting will happen, and then notice if they are surprised or notice where they get tripped up. It's an intentionally very open-ended. Does the customer do what we thought they would do? Is this as easy as we thought it would be? So that they can observe kind of where they need to actually tighten things up. If you have a company where you've got actual testers, then you can also rely on the expertise of a tester to help you design what that test could look like, right? Between the product manager being like, this is what I think needs to happen, or the staff engineer being like, this is what I think needs to happen, the tester can be like, okay, well, here's like the 12 here are like the 12 edge cases and questions that I have about like what you really think that means and whether or not it's testable. The other thing is, I do think if that solution doesn't fix the customer's problem, it doesn't matter, right?
So that begs a question that I had for you, which is it possible for a design sprint to fail?
Yes.
Tell me what failure looks like.
You get to the end and you have nothing.
Okay, what if you get to the end and you have something, but it turns out the something won't solve the actual problem?
Oh, I don't think that's necessarily a failure, because that's information, right? If you get through, you get something, oh, you set me up. Yeah. You get through, you've tested a solution. How much did you save by actually finding out that it was the wrong solution when you did it with prototypes, right? You've gone through, you had an actual customer use it. They're like, I don't need this. Great. You've spent that team's time who was already working. Like, I get a little like twitchy when people start trying to like put like meeting calculators up and like, this is an expensive meeting, this is a non-expensive meeting. It's like, this team would have been working on the product the entire time, no matter what. So instead, what you're doing is a high leverage activity. It's like, yeah, same amount of time, but much more information. And it can feel like, oh, but that's time that they're not spending on like developing the solution. And like, we've got deadlines. It's like, well, is it better to deliver the wrong thing on time or the right thing? Probably still on time, because they wouldn't have spent all the time on the wrong thing.
So you do a lot of remote facilitating. What is one tip that you have to invite people to be in this space when it's not a physical space, it's a virtual space? How do you invite people to be here now and put away the distraction machines?
The thing that made it work best was playlists.
Playlists. Do you mean like literally music playlists?
Literally music playlists. I set up different ones because when you're working in like a remote team, B, on a high like intensity, this is important problem to solve, and C, like in a company that is growing fast enough that really taking 5 days off to design feels luxurious, right? So the playlists help me kind of welcome everybody to this space instead of like the screen that everybody has on the side or their other little laptop or whatever, emails, whatever. Like play the music, has everybody to like, do invited them to take a breath and like settle in, like, okay, and we're here. If at any point you needed to not be here, just give a little like hand wave in the chat and quietly back out. Like, you don't have to like make announcements, you don't have to be sorry, just let me know that you're gone. And the playlist just like they help set the tone, and it would just kind of give people a laugh. I knew some of the folks on there, so I had like Vitamin string quartets playing Chandelier, and I had, I don't know, some music from The Hobbit, different things that didn't have words so that people could think without getting distracted, except when the Chandelier song came on, they're like, wait a second.
If a client is interested in doing design sprints, can they just search for the original Google paper and run them themselves?
I would say that you absolutely can. The materials are online. There's even like, downloadable checklists. But the benefit of having an outside facilitator is that that person isn't already like kind of caught up in the technical mess, the drama, the real emotional attachment that people have to their code. So instead, like what you get, especially like if you get somebody like me, like we are really good at getting all the people in the room, sometimes for the first time. We can get them together in this really productive mindset that's really focuses on, no, we've got a problem to solve. Yes, I know it's not going to be the entire problem, but it being outside of the context, it makes it much easier to stay focused on what is the actual problem. Does the solution actually solve the problem?
Tobey, you facilitate design sprints for clients. What's the best way for somebody to find you if they're looking for a facilitator for a design sprint?
Best way to find me is on LinkedIn. You can drop me a DM and we can have a conversation.
Thank you so much for your time today and for helping me understand what a design sprint is.
Thank you for the time. I always love talking to you.